I'm still very mad about that because I had intoxicating in my mind, but I spelled intoxication.
Yeah.
I'm still very mad about that.
All right, people, let's get started. All right, so first we're just gonna do a little chit-chatting real quick, a little thinking. Use our schemas. Your schema is what all the information you already have in your brain. So, fun fact. Module 4 is called, oh, I got hair in my mouth. Module 4 is called Wild West. Dun, 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 dun. Does anyone know what comes to your brain when I say Wild West? Does anyone know what I'm referring to when I say that? This is just what you think you might already know. If you think you know something, if you want to add use your little raise your hand button. When I say Wild West, what comes to your brain, Miss Olivia? Wild West.
When I hear the word Wild West, I think of cowboys and horses and like older days kind of thing. So kind of like a desert with like cowboys and cowgirls.
Desert, old days. Okay, so far we have cowboys, horses, desert, old days. All right. Mark, would you like to add to that? Your hand is up.
I was thinking desert. The Mojave Desert. That Death Valley, isn't it? I can't think, but like stuff like that.
Cactus. Someone said Angelina.
I think of like the country and like a sheriff, because usually it's always like a deputy or a sheriff in the Wild West.
Okay. So, okay. I'm not going to say llama. Spaghetti doesn't have anything to do with it. But anyway, so I have cowboys, horses, desert, old days, cactus, canyon, saloon, sheriffs. There's one of these is extra important when we're saying Wild West. When we think of the Wild West, which one of these is like most important? Evan, your hand seems to be moving.
I was gonna say another one, which was more like sandstorms.
Okay.
But the majority one I think you want to focus on is, can you read the options again?
Cowboys, horses, desert, olden days, cactus, canyon, saloon, sandstorm, sheriffs.
Canyons.
I'm gonna disagree with you, but that's okay. I'm gonna erase these, and we'll come back to some of them. When I'm thinking of Wild West, I'm thinking of old days / past. Okay, the past, the West now, which we are in. Like, what are we, like, Northwest? I don't know. We're like in the North, whatever. But the West is everything to, like, if we're in thinking this way, it's to the right of us. So that would be like, California is like as far as west as you can go in the United States. So when we're thinking of the Wild West, we're not thinking of California today, okay? We are thinking of the past. So this entire module is set in the past, okay? So back in the day, people moved west, okay? Because this is just a social studies thing, when people first came to the United States, where did they come in at? Where did people land when they first came to the United States? Anyone know? Okay, Michaela. Mia, where did people land when they first came to the United States? Like, they came on ships, obviously, but where did they land?
In the middle of nowhere, probably.
That's not what I meant. Yeah, the middle of nowhere, but what part of the United States did they land on?
Is it the Midwest?
Dylan?
Did they land in the southern part of the
Continent.
All right. So we're talking pilgrim style, okay? So pilgrims landed in like the East. Remember, they had like Plymouth Rock and all that stuff. So the first Native Americans set sail for our new land, and they landed in like Massachusetts and in the East, okay? So that is where they landed when they came from England and wherever else. So the Wild West is after the Pilgrims. So there's Pilgrims here. There's people that are settling in America. They're building up towns. Now there's people that have, like been born in America. We're building up the East. Then something happened and people moved west, which is what created the Wild West. Anyone off the top of your head, why would someone maybe have moved west back in the days? Remember, East has already been built up from, there's so many people there now, there's jobs there, there's whatever. The East is now a functioning society, but people decided to go west. Did anyone raise your hand if you want to tell me why go west? Jacob said one, why go west? Jacob said one, and he said more room. So remember, everyone in America is basically living in the same parts in the East. So they needed more space. So maybe they moved west to get more space, more room. So we're going to leave that up here for later. Ooh, Gage said one. He said gold. Ooh, the gold rush definitely happened. So that is another reason people moved west. Potentially different temperatures. I don't know if people knew that the temperatures were going to be different per se. So I'm not sure about that one, but for sure gold, for sure more room, and we're going to learn even more reasons why people might have moved west, okay? So we're just going to stop there. Remember these for later. Right now, I need you all to get on HMH, and I need you to go under my class. And then it's a short read, and it's titled Why Go West, okay? I'm going to share it on my screen in case yours isn't working, but try to get on it if you can. But I am going to be sharing it on my screen, so we got to wait till it pops up. But it's just a short read, but it's called Why Go West? So that's a question we're asking. Why people go west? And so far, we have our two biggest reasons. We have more room and gold. Hannah said better things. Abigail said just to discover. Isaac, we're not talking about north and south. We're talking east and west, buddy. So this does not have to do with slaves or anything like that. We are not talking north and south. We're talking east and west. Presley said maybe there's better resources, maybe more freedom, different temperatures. There's all these different things that we aren't for sure on, but I know for sure more room and gold. The other ones, we're going to find out. Dylan, do you have a question, buddy?
No, I got one more thing to add to that. New land to get land for their country.
Oh, to get more land. Okay. So that would kind of be like someone said to explore, or Abigail said to explore. So let's say to explore land for US, like maybe get more land and stuff. Why are we saying spaghetti? Don't say spaghetti. The reason they also moved is because there was a lot of land. So that would be in the exploring the land, good soil. All right. So we are going to read today why people went west. I wonder if I can zoom. Can I zoom this bad boy? All right. I don't know. But the title, this is the title right here, is Why Go West. But here I have all these other, can you see on my screen, my little mouse over here? I have this right here. I have these, and I have this. Does anyone know what those things are called again? Anyone? Can you raise your hand and tell me what those other little things are called that I just highlighted? What are these called? What I'm highlighting. Chance to own land, chance for a fresh start, chance to strike rich. What are those called? Olivia? Oh, I just had a ton of people put it in the chat. Subtitles. These are all subtitles. So the entirety thing is called Why Go West. But Then there's subtitles broken down into different sections, and there's 3 subtitles. So I'm going to start on reading. Please follow along with me. So why go west? Question. We're about to find out why we're going west. It says, lots of people make a checklist before they travel so they won't forget anything important. Raise your hand if you sometimes make a checklist before you travel anywhere. Anyone? Anyone make a checklist before they travel? Mrs. Kneifel sometimes makes a checklist before she travels. Like in my phone, I probably don't do it on paper, but I definitely do it in my phone. And I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I have my swimsuit. I need to make sure I have, my phone charger. I need to make sure blah, 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 blah. Especially, I'm sure your parents probably make a checklist. You maybe don't make a checklist, but I'm sure your parents are checking off every single thing they need. Like, oh, do I need extra money? Do I need a passport? All those things. So that is a real life thing that people do. Says, you make a list before you travel so you don't forget anything important. Awesome. During the 1800s, so Wild West, during the 1800s, we just got our time frame. Thousands of people might have used a checklist like this one. They left their homes and migrated to undeveloped western sections of the United States. What made them do it? Leave almost everything? Or leave almost everyone? Leave almost everything, take a chance on something new, head west. So the book is just showing us things that people had to do or leave behind by using this cute little checklist, saying these are things that people actually had to do when they moved west. What does it mean by undeveloped western sections? What does undeveloped mean? Raise your hand if you want to explain to me what undeveloped means. I don't know why that's still highlighted, but it's making me mad. Jaden, what does undeveloped mean?
It means that it's like there's nobody living there, and it's just kind of a bare land. And it's just like plain ground.
Right, it is plain ground, or Mark said no inhabitants. That means no people are living there. So people are in the east where there are buildings, there are factories, there are jobs, there are, animals. There's actual things happening in the east. But guess what? The east was getting pretty crowded. So people decided to go west. They had to leave almost everyone and everything, but they were taking a chance on something new, heading west. So undeveloped means things that are not yet inhabited, which means there's no people there yet. There's not, restaurants there yet. There's the post office isn't there yet. Railroads aren't there yet. There's not buildings. There's not jobs. It is literally open land. Okay. It is like brand new, untouched land that people were heading that way for. Okay. So that's what they mean by undeveloped. So this was a big chance people were taking. All right. Now we're going to read this first subtitled section, the chance to own land. I still don't know why this is highlighted green up here. I'm sorry, I can't get it off. Some saw the chance to become landowners. President Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Territory from France in 1803, known as the Louisiana Purchase. The new lands doubled the size of the United States. Free or inexpensive land was there for the taking, and it wasn't long before thousands of people from inside and outside of the United States looked to the American West and saw opportunity. So that is a big, big reason why people moved west. There wasn't only just more space out there, but there was free or really, really cheap land. So if you're like, Mrs. Kneifel, how's this land free? So when Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, there was all this land. It literally doubled the United States. So if you look at this map up here, the United States is in green, then the Louisiana Purchase is in yellow. So you can literally see, here's just the regular United States in the east, and by adding the Louisiana Purchase, this is now twice the size. So cool. They had all this land, but no one was going there. So the president decided, okay, if you're willing to pick up your family and move west, then you can have the land you settle on for either really cheap or, well, that's just what it was called, the Louisiana Purchase. Obviously, Louisiana isn't that big today, but that's what the whole thing was called. So you could go there, and the land you landed on, if you lived there for so long, you'd have to pay like literally cents per acre, or it could even be free. So people just saw this land, and in the East, they probably only, had a home, or an apartment. Like, you didn't have a lot of space. So people saw going west as a new chance to own their own land. It's, a lot of people feel a lot of pride if they have something of their own. So, hey, I'm going to go west. I'm going to own this land. So that is one reason why people went west. They saw it as a big opportunity. However, the growth of the United States wasn't a victory for everyone. During this period, Native Americans lost their homelands as settlers and pioneers moved west. Many tribes were forced elsewhere, and some Native cultures were nearly wiped out. So that is definitely one downside to the Wild West, and it will always be a downside and something that is very sad in a way, because the English settlers that were now in America, that believed America to be their home, and in 1803, Thomas Jefferson, he purchased the Louisiana Territory, which means now that whole entire space is the United States. So people are moving west. The president's like, yes, go west, go explore, get this free land, go. So that's exactly what people did, but there were already Native Americans living there. And remember, Native means people that were born there. So the Native Americans are the original Americans because they were here first, but the English settlers, they pushed them out and they had to go elsewhere. So a lot of cultures, Native American cultures, I know you guys learned about Native Americans already, and a lot of Native Americans have different cultures. Some of those cultures were almost like completely, like their traditions were wiped out and what they had to do was wiped out, which is very sad. So the Louisiana Purchase was great for America as a whole, but it definitely devastated Native American population and culture and stuff. So even though it was a good thing, there's also bad things that come with it. So far, what do we know? People moved west for a new chance to own their own land, okay? That is one thing. So more room, own their own land, boom, okay? Chance for a fresh start. Ooh, what does that mean? We know what a fresh start is. That's like, maybe you have a bad day today, but tomorrow when you wake up, things might be better. Some people made the journey west in hopes of starting anew. They believed the long, dangerous trip was worthwhile if it led to a better life. Okay, so people are just thinking, maybe people aren't exactly worried about the land, but they're just thinking, if I make this big journey, maybe it'll be worth it and I will have a better life. Sometimes, even today, people, decide to move, decide to change jobs, decides to do things they think it's going to better their lives. Many had faced hard times with growing families and few ways to make enough money to support them. Hopeful news from friends and relatives who had already gone west encouraged more and more families to relocate too. So obviously, if anyone is free, you want to send an invite to Olivia. If you are free, said she got kicked out, but she's having computer issues. So if you're free, send an invite to Olivia to rejoin this. If not, that's okay. You can just keep listening. So lots of people, of course, there was like the first wave of people went west, and then once people got west, they sent letters back. And then, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so great here. So then more and more people kept on coming. And here's an actual image, okay? And this is a covered wagon train. So if you're looking at this image, a covered wagon is a giant wagon that has a cover on it, literally. Thank you, Mark. Covered wagon. And it's a train. Like, that's kind of why is it a train? Well, it's a lot safer to travel in numbers, especially in unknown times like these. If you're all alone and your wagon breaks down, no one's there to help you. If you're with 20 other families, you might be a little bit safer. And it just is good to travel in numbers even today. So this is a covered wagon train where lots of families were going at the same time west. Paragraph 6. Many settlers followed the popular Oregon Trail, which was taking it all the way to its end in the Pacific Northwest. They loaded up covered wagons for their epic journey across the Midland Plains and over mountains. Determination kept these travelers going through challenges and setbacks. So remember, epic means like really large, really huge. Oh, snap. And midland, so they were traveling from the east through the middle of the United States to get to the west. So midland, remember, middle of the country, and that's where they were traveling through. And then lastly, our last subtitle is The Chance to Strike It Rich. And this is where the gold comes in that Mr. Okay, so Isaac, it was going to be way longer than a couple days of walk. It would be like weeks and weeks of traveling, which we're going to talk more about. But Mr. Gage said gold earlier. For some, the motivation was pure gold. In 1848, James W. Marshall discovered gold at Sutter's Mill in what is now Northern California. The news quickly spread, and the California gold rush was on. By 1852, more than 300,000 people had moved to California to seek their fortunes. So in 1803 is when people really started to go west, because that's when the Louisiana Purchase started. So that's when people started traveling west, more and more people going west for the new star, a chance to own land, etc. But then in 1848 is when, oh snap, people are going whoosh. People are really going west, because that is when they heard there was gold and they were going to go to find some gold too, because obviously gold is a precious metal. So 300,000 people moved in just 4 years. That's a lot of people in a short amount of time. So I want to go back to paragraph 6 real quick. And it said, I'm just going to reread the whole paragraph for it real quick. So many settlers followed the popular Oregon Trail, which was taking it all the way to its end in the Pacific Northwest. They loaded up covered wagons for their epic journey across the Midland Plains, over mountains, determined to keep these travelers going through. Determination kept these travelers going through challenges and setbacks. Challenges and setbacks. Can anyone work? Like I said, we're going to be reading a lot about the West over the next couple weeks, but just off the top of your head, what might have been a challenge or setback as people take literally only the belongings they can fit in a stinking wagon? Like, they can't fit a home in there. They can't fit furniture in there. They don't have fridges. They don't, how are they taking food, things like that? They can only take so few animals. So let's think, or what are some of the challenges they probably faced? Okay, so Mark, hold on. Oh wait, you guys are going too fast. Okay, so let me start with Mark. Mark said coyotes. That would be coyotes can be dangerous, or I can put maybe other animals. How about like a snake bite or something? That could be very dangerous. Hunger. What food are they going to eat along the way? Different. We're going to put weather in general, not just hot weather, but what if they were traveling through Indiana in January? Guess what? They could be hit by a snowstorm. Mark said hypothermia, and I'm going to put that with weather. Like, people were traveling so long, maybe they got heat stroke because they got too hot, or maybe they were traveling in the cold and they got hypothermia and their body got so cold and it wasn't safe. Jacob said no supplies. How about lack of supplies? Once they ran out of all their canned beets from the east, guess what? They didn't have any more. We could put lack of water. Luckily, in the United States, we do have a lot of freshwater streams and stuff, so they probably were able to find water along the way. Obviously, there's rivers everywhere, but you can still get sick from water. Different sickness, that is a huge thing. Think, if 40 families are setting out on a trail together and one of those families happens to have a fever, guess what? That can lead to other people having a fever, so sickness is a big one. How about, wagons breaking? Their wheels aren't metal and rubber like our parents' car wheels are today, or Mrs. Knifel's car wheels. Their wheels are literally made out of wood. What if they go over so many rocks, their wheels break? What do? They have to, hopefully they have an extra wheel. Maybe someone else, I just threw my marker. Maybe someone else has an extra wheel. Or maybe they have to make a new one. Or maybe they just have to leave their wagon and they have to, combine it with another wagon. Mark said horses die. So the wagons are normally pulled by animals, whether donkeys, whether horses, things like that. Well, guess what? You have to feed those animals or give them water. If they get sick, if they die, who's going to pull the carriage? Dehydration, that's a big one. That goes along with lack of water. Starving goes along with lack of food. Wolves could be along with coyotes, snakes. Sleep deprived. Ooh, that is a good one to think of, Abby. So think, you're traveling with all these families and you're not in a home. You literally have a wagon. So maybe people weren't getting the sleep that they need. They were, you're moving your body so much. Maybe you're getting ill. And lack of sleep could definitely be a big one. They were probably sleeping on the ground with just the blankets that they had. Poison, of course. Right. Let's talk about, so lots of people, the first people didn't have a trail to follow. They just followed their own little trail. But then in paragraph 6, it talks about the popular Oregon Trail. So once a few people had made it to the west, there was kind of like a path to follow. So that was helpful. But getting lost, if you get lost in a mountain, that could be the end of you. What if you're walking up the Appalachian Mountains and you accidentally go off a cliff? That would be a big one. Native Americans, Mark said Indians, but Native Americans was another big one. So remember, these people are literally the settlers going west were pushing Native Americans off their property. So sometimes there would be like small fights and things like that. And people, the Native Americans just didn't want to give up their land. So there was also the danger of that between the different cultures, lack of supplies, falling off canyon. Yeah, the Native Americans didn't just want to move. They were kind of forced out, but there was definitely some like mini fights between it. Lots of people definitely died along the way, but lots of people did make it. But whether, all right, there's lots. So let's stop listing things because we have a giant list. But we're definitely, thieves, that was a big one. We're definitely going to say for sure weather played a huge role in all of this, okay? Depending on whether it was too hot, too cold, big storms, whatever, weather played a big toll. Obviously, lack of food was a big one. Lack of water or clean water was a big one. But those are just some of the challenges that people faced heading west. But the people that were heading west all believed that it was for a better life, right? They thought that it literally said determination kept these travelers going through challenges and setbacks. So maybe their wheels broke and then they had to condense. And instead of 2 wagons, now their family only has 1 wagon. That would be a major setback. They have less stuff. But guess what? Determination kept them going. So the determination for a better life, their fresh start, or a chance to get rich from gold, or a chance to own their own land. Those were the 3 biggest reasons why people went west. Chance to own land, chance for a fresh start, chance to strike it rich, okay? So those are their 3 biggest reasons why people went west. Are there any questions on what we have talked about so far today? I know this is just a teeny little synopsis, but this is nonfiction. This is real reasons why people went west. Oh my goodness, sorry. Went west. So this is considered to be nonfiction. And what we're going to be reading these next couple weeks is all going to be based on nonfiction, even if it's like realistic fiction. So I am excited about this, but you are going to have 1 Google Classroom question today. But you'll be able to do it shortly. Let me get it posted. But does anyone have any questions about what we read today? Just about the Wild West in general. Now would be the time to ask a question. Anyone? Questions? All right, so you are going to have a homework that is due by 9:39 a.m. tomorrow. And the question is, what are the 3 main reasons, according to Why Go West, that people moved out west? Guess what? Mrs. Gunrifle and all of us just went over that. Mia, what's your question?
I was wanting to know if does it have to do with anything for the English?
What?
Like, are the English the ones traveling?
Yeah, The original people are from England that came over to the United States, but now we're a little bit past that, and now people have actually been born in the United States and stuff. Restate your. Hold on, I'm finishing typing this question, and then I can show it to you.
Also, Mrs. Knifel, for the homework, can we do any 3 reasons?
It says the 3 main reasons according to why go west. So there are 3 main reasons that people moved west. Okay, let me share this with you so you guys can see it. Ava Tipton. Yeah, so this is definitely, Evan said double social studies. This is a little bit, has to do a little bit with social studies, which is okay because we're going to see some of those content area words that have to do with social studies. So question, what are the 3 main reasons according to why go west that people moved out west? So you're going to look at the story, which we just read, and you're going to restate the question and be sure to answer in a complete sentence. Okay? You have about 10-ish minutes to work on this today. You are free to go if you would like. If you have any other questions, now would be the time to stay on. Tomorrow we're going to be doing something different with this. But you are free to go. Answer the question. If you have a question, now's the time to ask. You can unmute yourself and ask. The homework should be posted. Let me make sure it posts everywhere. Yep, posted there. Yep, the homework posted everywhere. If you have a question, you are free to ask. If not, you're free to go. Angelina, do you have a question or is your hand just up for fun? You are free to leave, my friends. Angelina, Mia, Ava, Nolan, Avery, have you guys left?